Hello there, welcome back to the Soul Mindful Crafts podcast. I'm Rowan.
I'm Kelvin.
And I'm Courtney. So actually the main point of the podcast today was to talk about a little bit of excellence education and what we're actually looking at doing in the future, not just now, but in the future. Yeah, so people don't know out there, we are a education CIC, what focus on music production and DJing, and hopefully soon lyric writing as well, and anything to do with music. And Kelvin is the creative director, as I am the business director. So what we do is we work with, well, everybody, don't we, really? We work with everybody. No, what are you laughing for? No, we do. I'm being dead serious. We work with everybody. We'll work from the elderly to the young, from kids at school to people who need the mental health or mental health side of things and do it for mental health reasons. I'm actually being dead serious. You're laughing. Like, I'm being serious.
Okay.
So explain a bit about you and your background anyways, Kels. Like what?
Me and my background. Well, when I was probably as young as I can remember now, I started, I was given a keyboard for Christmas by my mum and dad when I was like 5, something like that. And very early on, I sort of was listening to the radio and I wanted to try and sort of like replicate the songs that I heard. So I remember having a Casio keyboard, one of the really early ones, and just trying to recreate sounds, playing the complete wrong notes, as we all do when we first start. And then I found out that it had a little button where you could add like beats and stuff. You could add like different drum patterns and stuff. So I started putting those drum patterns and playing chords over the top and playing random notes. And then I found...
I don't want to interrupt, but this is what I can imagine Kelvin be like, beep, doop, 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 doop.
Yeah, basically that's how it sounded. Yeah, basically that's how it sounded. So it was just an absolute mishmash of everything at first, and it sounded, well, a cat squealing probably sounds better. But then we managed to sort of get through that phase, and then I got to about 7 years old and I started learning how to play guitar. So I was gifted a guitar through a family member that had recently passed away, and started learning how to play guitar again by ear. Never actually learned any music theory. And then a little bit older, I got into wanting to basically make songs that I could save. And again, when I first started on that, everything sounded like, well, you won't want to listen to it, put it that way. Completely out of key, completely off tempo, just ideas put together in an 11-year-old's head. And then from there, it kind of developed into learning a little bit of music theory, just like basic chords and things like that, and thinking, oh, right, this is actually how you make things sound half decent. And then, started making the remixes, kept making the remixes, eventually did a remix of a song as a bootleg with a bit of fun, and that was with a guy called Sam Robbs, and my good friend Josh Brooks was also on the co-production for that. I remember us being in his kitchen, actually, and we were sort of like just messing around with some ideas, thinking, oh, what song should we remix, this, that, and the other. And obviously Sam was there as well. And we did a remix of TLC's No Scrubs, which is obviously a big R&B track from sort of like a little bit of a throwback. And then that was turned into a house track. And we thought, oh, yeah, that's all right. Let's put it on YouTube. We put it on YouTube. It got picked up by a YouTube channel called Supreme Music. Then
Supreme!
Yeah, and then Supreme Music put it out, and it started to get loads of traction, like just organically. No idea why. It started getting thousands of streams and then hundreds of thousands of views and then so-and-so. And then I was literally sat in Josh's kitchen again, and I was saying to him, like, how crazy would it be if this label, Selected, that we really wanted to be on at the time, reached out to us? And the minute that I said that, no word of a lie, I opened up my laptop and I had a message on Facebook Messenger, I remember it to this day, from a guy called Klaus. Well, Klaus is one of the guys that runs Selected. And it said something along the lines of, hi Kelvin, maybe or maybe not you've heard of our brand, Selected. You know, we're a YouTube channel, record label, whatever. And I was like, sort of like trying to play it down like, oh yeah, I've kind of heard of you. Not like I've wanted to be on the label for years and years and years now. And that was kind of what like sparked that part of my career. And that sound that I was making at the time, it was very much inspired by the stuff that they were doing. You know, there were guys like Robbie G, Clooney with his early stuff, and then there was True Concept, a few different people that I really like the sound of. New Aspect was another one, and basically that sound influenced what I was doing quite a lot. So anyway, we did this like sound, but we did a bit of a spin-off, and that became the new thing for them. So it was like, we like this song, how about doing it as like a cover? So, because the original's obviously big anyway, the bootleg was doing well, but they couldn't release it as it was because it was obviously copyrighted. And it was kind of going to go two ways. It was either we get done for copyright infringement and the DMCA and all the rest of it, or we do a cover where we get a singer on it, and Selected sorted that side out, so I don't know who they got on that actually to this day. And then we basically give a percentage of the royalties to TLC and their estate and whatever, management and stuff, anyone who was involved in the writing originally. And then we can release our version as a cover version, which mine and Sam's name went on, Kelvin and Sam Robs. And then that went on to be played by Radio 1 dance anthems repeatedly for a few months. It went on Capital, it went on Kiss FM, all the big three national radio stations. And then it went on to doing a lot of stuff abroad as well in Europe, because that's where Selected are based. And then from that, sort of opened doors into different things. And now, fast forward to now, there's a lot of things that have happened in the interim, but fast forward to now, I got talking to Courtney through a DJ gig, actually. We were DJing on the same lineup in a gig in town. We got talking. We basically found that we had very similar ideas of something we wanted to do. I was already going into schools previously, subcontracting through other companies and delivering workshops, but I wanted to kind of do my own thing and also have a studio, which a lot of these places didn't have. And Courtney was like, do you know what? Let's join forces. I've got a teaching background. You've got a production background. We've both got DJing backgrounds.
Power Rangers, don't we? Let's join forces.
But like it just sort of worked out, you know. And now we've come together and we're basically trying to make a difference to the lives of young people using our expertise.
Do you know you said that you got like a different person to do vocals on your tune?
Yes.
So from like the somewhat technical stuff. So do you say you remixed the TLC song?
Yes.
In theory, that would have the vocals in it already, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it had the original vocals, so it had like a really badly ripped version.
Oh, right.
Of the vocal.
So you did a...
Yeah, so basically...
So you kind of separated vocals and...
Right. So basically we did a bootleg originally.
Yeah.
With the original vocals, but obviously it was like terrible quality. I think I used RX7 by Isotope to get the vocal. Like phase inverting to get the acapella. Yeah. So that was that. And then from there, the label basically said they were going to get a singer. So what they did is we took the vocals off, sent them the instrumental, and then a singer re-sang the song in a slightly more dance kind of way.
Yeah.
So it's arranged a little bit differently, but obviously sang the same melody and everything. And then you can get what's called a cover license. So for anybody out there that's wondering who wants to like cover a track, legally what you can do is you can take pretty much any song. I think there's a few exceptions, but mainly any song, and you can cover it. If you basically keep 90+% of it the same, then you can class it as a cover. You can use a distributor. So, for instance, there's a few out there. There's like DistroKid, CD Baby. There's a bunch of others. I'm just mentioning a few that I've used. And with a distributor, you can apply for what's called a cover license. What that does is that asks you for the original writers of the song and the original composers of the song and anybody involved in mixing and mastering, all the rest of it. They all get paid a percentage because it was their song that you've covered. But you also get a small portion for your artistic works. So basically, rather than putting a bootleg out on SoundCloud and it getting a few free downloads and not really getting any traction, you can officially release a song, get it on like Capital Dance, Radio 1, or if that's not your lane, just get it on Spotify or Apple Music or all of the distributors, and you can get paid for that as well as the original artist getting paid for that. But because you've used a song that's well known, people know the vocals for it. So when you play it in a set, like No Scrubs is probably one of my most known tracks. If I play it in a set, their ears prick up a little bit because they're like, oh, I know the words, but I don't know the beat.
You know it. You know of it.
Yeah.
You can't work out where from.
Yeah. It's one of those like familiar but unfamiliar situations, which for me are like a gold mine.
I'll be honest, that's how I thought when I listened to it. It's a banger. May I add? It's a banger.
I appreciate that. Thank
But
you.
yeah, I reckon I've heard this song somewhere before, but I can't work out where, and that's probably why.
Yeah, it's originally an R&B soul track.
Well, TLC were what 1992.
Yeah.
So that's when it came out. The original No Scrubs track.
Tables, ladders, and chairs.
No, tell a lie. Said that wrong. 1997, not 1992. So
When I was born. When I was born, that track came out.
So
If I was
1997, that's when the tune was big. And obviously, as it grew in the 2000s, it still grew in the 2000s. It grows now. Like, I've got kids, 13 playing the track. I was like, okay, nice. Where it comes to music goes around in a big circle.
Yeah.
So even some of the older tracks, they'll get traction to like kids who are like 12, 13, 14 now. Like, I've got a daughter, so I hear all the tracks like, yo, why should you playing this? Why should you play my tune, man? I used to play this in the club all the time. You know what I mean? Just be one of them. So music always gains traction. It goes in a big circle.
And then if
you get sick of them,
and then if it gets sampled, and someone wants to know where it samples from, then I get into like the song where the samples from. Like Amen Brother is a banger. The full song is an absolute tune, but people only know that 6-second drum loop in it.
Yeah, that 6-second drum loop has been used hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times in songs.
I recognise waveform if I see it somewhere.
It's become that saturated.
It's the wave.
So, right, you're on about the cover license thing.
Yes.
Is there like an equivalent of that, like remixing and sampling, or is it just like covers?
I think when it comes to don't 100% quote me on this because I'm not entirely sure, but from what I've seen, I'm pretty sure that the cover license is for both vocals and or instrumentation.
Right. Okay.
So, for instance, I know what you can't do is you can't like sample a full melody loop from like a known song, like Robin S. Show Me Love. Like you can't do that and just use it. What you can do is recreate those same notes with your own instrument, and then it becomes yours. You just have to basically do the cover license thing to know that the original.
So you're still going to do a cover license even if
That's actually a good question.
Yes.
You got me interested now because there are a lot of there's a lot of tracks coming back out now where they are using exactly the same sample. They've got really lazy with it.
Yeah.
Like, have you heard that new what is it? I think it's David Guetta track. Which is basically,
David Guetta's done it loads of times.
He does it all the time. He does it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's that.
But do you know what?
I'm
they
not
do
saying
what's clever?
laziness.
No, but what they do is they recreate it, so it sounds identical to the original.
But it's not. Yeah, no,
But it's not.
That.
They've actually
I get
remade
that.
it with another synth,
So-
or even finding the original synth that was used and then just replaying it.
So when it comes to the legal, let me just say this quick. So when it comes to all the legal ramifications of like using the exact same sounding track, even the same samples, even the same. Sometimes, not all the time, most of the times they're changing the lyrics around, so it's a different chorus and different lyrics.
Yeah, what they'll do is a lot of the time, this is a new thing, is they will have the hook basically the same as the original song, but then change or rewrite verses to fit the more like commercial current crowd. I mean, he does it a lot with the BB Rexha tracks. I think someone's just sampled "Faithless Insomnia" in one of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. Who's done that?
I forgot who.
Track.
Yeah, the name escapes me.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
John Redding. It's not.
there's been quite a few classic, let's say classic 90s, noughties dance tracks that have been reimagined many times in whether it R&B, whether it be house, whether it be drum and bass even. I mean, we had Rudimental and Ella Henderson that did Alibi, which was Gangster's Paradise by Coolio, and that was made into a drum and bass track. So there is a lot of that goes on, but I think a lot of these big artists must sort of, I don't know, because I'm just a guy who started making tunes in my parents' spare room in Doncaster. So what would I know? But yeah, what I'm saying
From
is...
humble backgrounds, yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Fair enough.
So in other words, you just give them the cheat code to the industry right now, aren't you?
There you go.
There you go.
You're welcome.
So if we've got any young listeners, Kelvin is give you the cheat code. Up, down, left, right, A, B, A, B.
It's like,
You know what I mean?
Come on.
So,
Courtney, what about you? How did you get into making the tunes?
ironically, I've got a musical family. So, how it started off is both my brothers, Dane and Nicky, they used to make music when we were younger. So they used to use, funny enough, they're on this virtual DJ app. EJ. So they used something called EJ first, and started making like weird loops on there and making music. And then eventually they got into using Reason when the older they got. And then I used to be around that all the time. But not just that, my dad's massive into music. But ironically, my cousins from my mum's side, one's a singer, one's actually a massive producer, has worked with like the likes of Jason Derulo and everything. So within my family unit, they've always been into music. My dad was into like drum and bass, all sorts, and reggae music. So I was influenced by everything back then. And ironically, my mum liked Westlife. Let's not talk about my mum on that side, you know what I mean? The music side. You know what I mean? She's like, you should listen to stuff like Westlife and Whitney Houston. And I was like, nah, that's not my bag. But yeah, when it comes to my brothers, my cousins, my family, we were all big into music. I went into the DJ side of things. So I learned how to DJ, mix music and stuff like that very early. So it was actually my uncle what got me on track with that. So my uncle started with teaching me how to DJ, and then my cousin Devon, who I mentioned, he's taught me how to do the scratching side of working on vinyl. My brother taught me about mixing. So it was like kind of a team effort. I'm not trying to say they were trying to make me to the perfect human being, but it was a team effort when it comes to music because everyone showed me like little bits and pieces. Devon showed me about music production as well. So the one who taught me how to do music, to make music, was actually my big brother Nicky and Devon. So they both like worked with me and sat me down and showed me like different things. Like at the time, Devon was using Logic and Pro Tools because he was using live instruments as well in the studio. Yeah. And then my brother was at home using Reason. I think he at that point when he was teaching me, he was using Logic, old Cubase, the old Cubase.
Proper like
woo, mate.
Nam Cubase, bro. Which is mate. And that's when I learned about VST sampling, stuff like that, different plugins. And yeah, they put a lot of time in me, and I love music. That's why people ask me, "Oh, what's your favorite song?" I don't have a favorite song. It's like I have a favorite type of music. It's just what my mood brings. After that, I got to a point where I was doing really, really well DJing. From going like different areas of the country. My cousin put me on in Newcastle, so I was DJing in Newcastle. I was DJing in Middlesbrough, Sunderland. I was everywhere. London. Did a set in Turkey, in Atalanta. Why?
Antalya, sorry, a while back when I first went to Turkey. I've been everywhere. And then I was still DJing, but I kind of like dropped off a bit and went to a point where I was like more focused on work. So I got into like personal training and stuff like that, sports. Got into it, then eventually worked in the prison service. Hated the prison service. Left to do cover teaching or behaviour support teaching. So I was working at a Peru, and then I started getting into teaching by teaching like PE and certain sports activities, and then started doing like, when I got to Deaf College, learned sign language, then learned how to do forest schools. So they put me into doing that as well. And then once I left there, I thought it's now or never. I might as well take the plunge and start a business. The person I had in mind was Kelvin, because reason being is because what he's done musically is very, very good. Music engineer. So I thought if we can do, in my vision at the time was like, if I can get Kelvin on board, we'd be unstoppable in terms of music production because there's no one going to be able to do what we're doing. And in a way, I've been proven right. We just need to get there. We're starting a new business. We've actually only been open for 4-5 months now, really. So in terms of that, I'm optimistic of the future and how it goes. But yeah. How I got into the whole music scene and music production is I was kind of groomed into it by my parents. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if that sounds right, but yeah, I was put into it from my parents, and my parents were the ones what kind of got me into interested in music. But the older I got, the more love for music I have. And the thing about it is, now the knowledge I've got of music and what different types of music sounds like, and it kind of goes into a rabbit hole. And I'm kind of where Alice in Wonderland was at the bottom. So I'm about to see the Queen. So I enjoy what I do. So yeah, man, that's the basic how I got into music.
Fair play. Thank
you for listening to the show. This is So Mindful Podcast, and we're out.
Mindful crabs pull up a chair.